Good evening, everybody. Welcome along to the Championship Check-In podcast with myself, Benjamin Bloom, and EFL pundit extraordinaire, Sam Parkin, counting down the last days, Sam, the remaining hours of the barren wasteland that is the international break. We're nearly through. We're really happy to be here live on YouTube. So if you are watching live and in the flesh, get your opinions and your views on everything we talk about there in the comments if you're listening after the fact. We appreciate the hell out of you, don't we, Sam?
Never a truer word said, mate. Yeah, no, we're really enjoying it, aren't we? I think, we've had a real buzz about us the last few weeks. I think it's really taking shape, the podcast. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for
Can you explain in football terms? Are we like growing into the season? Is that?
Yeah, I think we probably started slowly, didn't we? Probably had a couple of indifferent results in front of the home fans. Maybe picked up a few like
the best bit was when I stared at the camera and didn't speak for 5 seconds. That was excellent TV.
Oh, my roof came off as well, didn't it? About week 3. So that was like a 4-0 defeat, wasn't it? Away from home at like a miserable outpost in the northwest. Sorry to any northerners listening, but we're motoring now. We're unbeaten in a few weeks, aren't we? And do you know what? I do feel refreshed. I had that weekend away, and it felt like I didn't talk about football for ages.
Even though you were with an actual football team?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was with a football team, but I was away for like 48 hours, and it felt like 2 weeks, which has got to be a good thing. I feel refreshed, recharged, and ready for Rothers against the Tractor Boys tomorrow night.
Well, I'm going, Sam, but if this storm picks up, I'm Mick McCarthy in it. I'm not even getting on the bus. I'll take a point and stay at home and watch it on Sky, but I do have a ticket for that one. But we'll get to that. We got all the normal stuff. Remember, guys, we would normally split half review, half preview, but Sam has pulled a couple of rabbits out of a couple of hats in terms of the review stuff here. So we will be at the preview stage quicker than we would normally be. Have your say on everything as we go. Let's start with Parkin's pick. So just the 3 managerial changes then in the 2 weeks of the international break. Don't know how many we'll get in November. And one of them is going to be Parkin's pick, Sam.
Yep, we're going to kick off by talking about Gary Rowett leaving Millwall.
I sat down last night and Bake Off had already been preempted by England football the previous night. That news came out at like 8:01 a.m. and I'm like, nah, I'm dealing with that.
Do you have that on your watch along as well?
What, Bake Off?
Not anyone tuning in for Bake Off, but but you can watch Bake Off tomorrow night if you stay with me for the course this evening.
I had to say that a few times on Tuesday night. Yeah. But the news broke.
Yeah.
I'm a bit split, Sam. Not surprising in terms of it happening. Bit surprised at the timing, to be honest. 5-game block now to the next international break. Back end. But we did hear from Gary Rowett today. And let's just say both sides here are towing the party line and very much peddling mutual consent here.
Yeah, and who are we to doubt them? Because it does feel like a natural kind of point for a amicable separation. Quite fittingly, I was on the platform at London Bridge when I saw the tweet last night, which is very much the I would say the watering holes of choice for the Millwall fans and the away fans on match days at the Den. So I often see them congregating there when I'm off to do some work at Talk Sport. So saw the news late last night. It was probably 9 o'clock actually by the time I saw it. And I was surprised. I was surprised at the timing. As you said, you naturally feel that these things are going to get done early in the international break. But having seen Millwall as often as I have, like you, Ben, over the last year or two, I think the writing has kind of been on the wall. It's kind of run its course. And I said on this podcast all of a month ago that I found that chanting, I found that kind of turning on Gary Rowett at Carrow Road a few weeks ago pretty unsavoury. And I was quite glad, actually, that he responded in the fashion that he did. I think he kind of clapped in their direction and he had a few words post-match. And I thought that was pretty sour, considering the job that he's done. But I think Gary Rowett, by his own admission, Ben, would tell you that his focus is on setting up the team, being hard to beat, really well coached. And I think that's where there's been obviously a little bit of discontent. And that's going to be natural if they want to be a little bit more.
Sam, do you have some sympathy for the Millwall fans that would say, yes, okay, I accept that he did that. Then did he take it the next stage? Probably not.
I think it's difficult though, that transition. And I say it so often, I think it's the hardest managerial job, give or take, in the country.
And you've played, reminder to the listeners, you've played there as well, haven't you?
I played there. I played in a brilliant team, and it was just glorious. My 3 months or so there. So I haven't been there initially. That said, it was a really difficult spell under Keith Stevens and McCleary. I can't think of McCleary's first name, but Millwall legends were in charge, and it turned for those two as well. And it was Mark McGee who came in subsequently. But anyway, it was a brilliant team, and I had a great experience at the Den. But I just think it wasn't very fair on Gary Rowett, the finishes that he's been able to achieve with them, the results that he's had. That said, I agree with you to an extent with the additions they've now had with the squad, and with a squad that's shaping up now, it's probably the right time to see if someone can just take off that handbrake a little bit more and be a little bit free flowing. But I've always said for Millwall to get to that next level, this is kind of from my eye, sitting in that stand covering games, they need a better quality ball playing centre half. They need a midfield controller who can actually put his foot on the ball. And when they're coming under the cosh, when they're defending leads, and they did it brilliantly last year at the Den, the record was remarkable when they went in front. And I think, again, this season, the 4 games they've gone behind in, they've lost every game. So that is a big problem. But I still think the necessity is there at Millwall. If they're going to progress to the next level, it's to get a better calibre of footballers in the midfield who can actually take care of the ball, run the game, rather than it just being so ferocious throughout the entirety of the 90 minutes. Because I just think sometimes that catches up with you. To contradict myself a little bit, just to wrap up, how have Luton been able to achieve what they have? What are the differences? I mean, what are the similarities between those two clubs? How have Luton...
Can I jump straight in, Sam, and say Luton, I would give an A star on recruitment, whereas Millwall, I would go like B or something, yeah?
No, I could completely agree. That's the first point I put down. You could argue that Millwall have produced more of their own players over the last few years. You could argue that the football is pretty similar, but you're right in terms of the Luton front two. Jordan Clark, I think, has been a brilliant acquisition. Someone like Cal Naismith initially for them, who could build from the back a little bit more than maybe Millwall have got. I mean, these are just all examples off the top of my head. But yeah, I think, and actually Nakamba, what I was just talking about at Millwall, Nakamba did give Luton a bit more of an option if they wanted to build, and the opponent had gone a little bit deeper and there was a bit more space to build. And I don't think Millwall have ever really had that. So that's why we reach a point in time that is absolutely fascinating to see which way they go. Are they going to go like for like, or, are they going to go tried and tested, or are they going to actually do something that I can't ever remember Millwall doing? I think Ian Holloway maybe tried a little. I don't think Ian Holloway is necessarily known for playing free-flowing football, but I think he did try and change one or two things. So if they are going to go for someone who's going to introduce a completely new, different brand of football, that is going to be fascinating to see how the natives take that on board.
Who's it going to be then, Sam? Because you're just speaking about Luton. Nathan Jones is available. Your mate and ours, John Eustace, is available. Kevin Muscat is leading the betting. Who do you see them going for? Gary Rowett on TalkSport said, could they try something different?
I don't know where they turn now. I'd be surprised maybe if John Eustace wanted to jump into this right now.
Sorry, thanks to Balboa guy in the chat there, 199 in the super chat. Sorry, continue, Sam.
That would surprise me. Obviously, Kevin Muscat has been closely linked to the Rangers job. Obviously, didn't get it. Ex-player. So that'll tick boxes for some people, and he has got a brilliant reputation. I think Ange Postecoglou spoke of him relatively recently about being the next.
He was with Postecoglou at 3 different clubs, wasn't he?
Yeah, so being the next, big thing, best thing to come out of that, obviously part of the world, although he spent, his whole career here playing more or less. So I could see the merits in that. I don't know. I think, some of the names that are being discussed are a bit like for like. And, if this is a decision that
Mark Kennedy, for example, yeah?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Well, a legend, obviously at the club for what he did, as a young player before he moved to Liverpool. I'd quite like that because I didn't realise, this is how bad a friend I am, I didn't realise that his assistant at Lincoln was Danny Butterfield, who I'm quite pally with. I was quite pally with. Obviously, I've lost such a little bit in terms of what he's doing, but he was his number 2. So I'd love Danny Butterfield to rock up at Millwall because he's a really good guy. But I'm not sure that someone who's been relieved of their duties maybe in League One is going to get fast-tracked into the Millwall job if they are hoping they can make the next step in the next few years and crash into them playoffs.
Can we extend Parkin's pick? Because we recorded this show last Thursday at 7 o'clock and probably 12, 16 hours later, Sheffield Wednesday announced. Sam, you said it would suit a safe pair of hands and they've hired a 34-year-old.
I think I just gave you an array of personas, caricatures of what I thought may fit. I think I actually felt it wasn't a job for someone who was maybe in a job or had done well in a job, a younger coach maybe in this country who's going to go into that with all the commotion. I felt that would be a ridiculous gamble. I thought for a Neil Warnock type who could just block out the noise and not be bothered about that basically and just focus on the man management. I thought that would be a really good option. Or I felt something incredibly left field. And I think this is
you've got the latter.
Yeah. So I thought a wiry old customer, or I thought something bizarre that like the owner and maybe some of his confidants have just dreamed up. And I think this is what we've got. I'm pretty excited about it. I mean, you can't not be pretty impressed with the CV. I think he comes in at an incredibly difficult time where the squad's obviously really low on confidence and not particularly good. And he's going to probably change from what got Darren Moore success last year, which is what I believe should have taken him into this season.
And to get 45 points, which is your 80% chance of survival, he's basically got to immediately become a mid-table team with the hand he's been dealt with from the first 11.
Yeah, and I suppose we can only take the lead from who he's worked with previously, the work he's done. And I was a massive fan of Hassan Hootel at Southampton initially. So if we're going to see something like that, something akin to what you see out of the Red Bull stable, I think it could be really exciting. I mean, it's one of my pet hates when people talk about pressing, when the centre forward's going to close down a fullback.
All right, Dean Saunders.
No. When the centre forward's going to close down a fullback and someone calls that pressing, no, that's me doing my job so I don't get absolutely rinsed by my manager and my teammate for being lazy. But, I played...
Please don't trigger him in the Q&A. He's on fire already today.
But I played in a brilliant pressing team in Scotland, at St Mirren, where we were coached every day how to press. Who to press when we're playing certain teams, who to go with and the triggers and such like. And the Red Bull model is fascinating and it is incredibly unique. And when you watch them, I covered New York Red Bulls quite a lot and obviously watched Southampton quite a lot under Hassan Hootel. And it is very, very different to a lot of teams set up. The ferociousness of the closing down, the high line, the inverted wingers, kind of that 4-2-2-2. And if we were to see something like that, then, I could get behind that. And I think there's a chance we may see a bit of pace. He could maybe play wingers, in attack, or, they may be a little bit more back to front. And that would possibly suit the profile of frontmen that they've still got at the club. But I don't think anyone's going to know, are they, until a couple of games in. But on the face of it, I wouldn't go as far to say it's as good as they could have got, but I think it's pretty darn exciting for the supporters given the predicament they're in.
What are Sam's feelings on renaming counter-attacking with trends? Don't answer that.
No, I mean, you are, Ben, we've spent enough time together in in an office poring over football, and I am a long way from being a dinosaur, but the pressing one does do my head in. It's just the throwaway. Oh, they've got
You're the expert, mate. No one's disagreeing with you.
No, it's just the throwaway. They've got a high press on when it is just a bloke doing his job, going to close, and that happens, down the local park with the under 8s every Sunday. You go and close someone down when they've got the ball. It's very different to being coached in a structure or in a philosophy of a manager's that you are going to do this, and everyone is going to buy in and be coached to the nth degree.
We spoke enough about Wayne Rooney on last week's show. And we'll deal with Carrick versus Rooney in the predictions. So Parkin's pick, we have dealt with the 2 new managers. It's time for cause for concern. Right, caveat ahoy here, because we love Plymouth. We love Stephen Schumacher. It's a great run. It's a great story, but Sam, Plymouth and their next 5 seasons in particular are the cause for concern. Do you want to throw any more caveats in before we discuss
other than
we've got coming up?
Other than I'd dearly like him to be on this screen at some point this season.
Please,
so the last thing I'm going to do is slag him off, because I really like him. I was muckers with his number 2 at Northampton earlier on in my career. Mark Hughes, had a chat with him when I was recently down. So big fan of the work that they're doing. I do believe that they will survive and some this season. There we go, caveated away. West Brom away, I think it's tricky. West Brom lost pretty convincingly at Birmingham last time out, but the clean sheet record has been very good recently, 4 in 6. Plymouth have only scored 4 goals on the road so far this season, and just one of 4 teams that haven't been victorious away from home. So that is beginning to be a little bit problematic. I think just the 2 points at Watford, goalless draw, wasn't it, if memory serves me right, and a 1-1 at Hull City, and there was the debacle, wasn't there, at Bristol City when he made all manner of changes. So I think it heaps enormous pressure on the 2 home games. I think that's pretty evident. Sheffield Wednesday and Middlesbrough, and given what has happened, very different, albeit both those clubs in the last 2 weeks to a month, they're not gimmies by any stretch of the imagination. You don't know what Sheffield Wednesday are going to turn up. And Middlesbrough, if we rewind to last week, I think both of us are probably on the same page as many fans of the Championship, that Middlesbrough's malaise is very much over. And
Sam, it just puts a lot of pressure on that Sheffield Wednesday game, doesn't it? You got this. I love what the fixture computer's done here, where Plymouth, Sheffield Wednesday and Ipswich were sick of the sight of each other last year, and you get back-to-back games. But middle of a 3-game week, and if there's not points going on the board and you're facing Middlesbrough and Leeds, I know they do. The managers all look at the games in blocks, Sam, don't they? But they've really, really got to get out the traps after this international break, haven't they?
I mean, I think they'll fancy this at the weekend. West Brom haven't been consistent as of yet, although they just went on a reasonably good run, and they went into that game at St Andrews, and I wholeheartedly expected them to get something. So I wouldn't rule them out of, upsetting the odds, especially after the 2-week break away at the Hawthorns. It's not the worst game, but if they were to get beaten there, then the Sheffield Wednesday game becomes really, really big. I think the Norwich victory was the last one, and we're talking quite a few weeks ago now. There's been a couple of different shapes as well. I know we went back to the kind of tried and tested 3-4-2-1. I think they did shift back in the penultimate game before the break, and have obviously lost the last 2. So I think that's interesting. They started the season very much a 4-3-3. It was looking really good with Mumba, Hardy, and Whittaker, and obviously the results dictated that.
When you say those names, Sam, I feel better about it, because they are quality players, those 3, aren't they?
They are. I'm a really big fan of Ryan Hardy, actually. I don't think he's probably the best in terms of back to goal. Maybe players have got better touch, better awareness that play that position. But in terms of work ethic, running onto balls and the array.
How many goals do you think he'll have if he plays over 40 games? Already got 6, I think, hasn't he?
I think he'd get 15.
Minimum. Yeah, I was going to go with 15.
I think he'd get 15.
Which is great, isn't it?
Yeah, I think he's a brilliant finisher. He's a bit like Kane when he got in the other night. You never doubt actually that he's going to pick the right finish. He's got the dink in his armory. So yeah, maybe it's not an attacking problem per se. I did look at some of the defensive statistics. I think it's the second highest XG conceded, sandwiched in between Rotherham and QPR. So it's a bit of a surprise to see them in that light. And again, I think they'll be fine. But this is a incredibly daunting run of games.
So Plymouth, cause for concern with all of those caveats. What we did learn about Stephen Schumacher last year, Sam, is whenever anybody asked the question, he not only had the answer, but he had the answer to the next question after that and the next one after that. So we love what they're doing, but this block could prove problematic. Now, Sam is doing his Hercule Poirot impression here because even though there's been no championship games, we do still Worldie of the Week. Right, are you taking all the credit for finding this, or have you got to give somebody a shout out from Twitter?
Oh, it's sucking up now if I do so, because it was actually the football editor at TalkSport who tweeted it earlier. Okay. He's a Leicester fan.
He loves a Leicester tweet, doesn't he? Yeah.
He's a Leicester fan, so there's a little clue. Poor old Paul Smith.
Oh yes.
At QPR, obviously.
Can we break the fourth wall here? In our little production meeting yesterday, you said, Ben, I've got a goal for you. Paul Smith scored for Northern Ireland, and it was all decided, But this afternoon we saw a tweet, and Yunus Akgün, the Turkish midfield genius forward that I have continually failed to pronounce his name correctly this season. I think I've done it all right there. Scored an absolute worldie. So if you're watching on YouTube, I've just put the still up. This ball, and if you look right at the bottom of the picture, it's been cut back from the lad there on the far left-hand side. And Sam, you can take over here, back to goal, and the ball is bouncing up behind him. What happens next?
Well, that's been thrashed at him, by the way, hasn't it, buddy?
That's been lambasted at him.
Yeah, it was a horrible height, and he's taken probably as good a touch as you can. And as you can see, that's his touch, and it actually went airborne, didn't it? It probably went about midriff height, so it wasn't perfect to execute the strike. And then
I was gagging for it though, wasn't it?
I was gagging for it. Yeah. It probably actually, if he'd have killed it on the deck, might have made it actually a tougher finish, or he would have probably had to bend it or
with that being on the left foot though, Sam. I've seen you play football. You're volleying that though, aren't you?
Oh yeah, it's the best volley you'll see during the international break. It is absolutely flew past the keeper's right, so the left as we're looking. And it's gone top corner, and it's got that lovely springiness out of the net back into play, if you can picture that. So brilliant goal. Harsh on Paul Smith, I like to go with. It's a Di Canio-esque volley against San Marino. I think it was the opener, and obviously gets the backflip to match from Little Smith. But that was a brilliant goal. But as soon as I saw this one today, it was in the 4-0 win over Latvia, and they're obviously well placed above Wales to qualify from their group. Absolute worldie.
Well done, Sam. We thought we'd have to remove that segment this week, but worldie of the week goes to, say his name again, Yunus Akgün, yeah?
Yeah.
Leicester City, who we expect to see more of as the season progresses. Right. We are going to get into the next round of games. Round 12 is coming up. The next segment is mouthwatering matchup. So let us know your mouthwatering matchup down there in the comments. And while you do that, I will filibuster for a second because I haven't got this up. Please hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. And of course, if you're listening after the fact on podcast, give us a 5-star review. God damn it. Was that good enough procrastinating, Sam?
Very nice, mate. Lovely.
Thanks, boss. Right, Friday night football. I'll be there unless it looks like my hair's going to get particularly wet. Rotherham United versus Ipswich. Check that out on Sky. Early kickoff Saturday. Preston, 3 defeats in a row versus, do you know who's taking Millwall, Sam?
Adam Barrett and Paul Robinson.
Okay, Adam Barrett's Millwall there. So without Rowett, although we would expect it to look exactly like a Rowett team with one day's notice. It is Blackburn versus Cardiff. Bristol City versus draw-happy Coventry. Huddersfield versus QPR. Hull versus Southampton. That should be quite decent, actually, Sam, shouldn't it? I don't want to give the game away. Norwich versus Leeds, the return of Daniel Farker. And Alex Neil also goes up against his former side there. Stoke versus Sunderland. Swansea versus Leicester. Sam, if Leicester win, they will be the first team in the 121 seasons of second-tier football to win their first 6 consecutive away games. Thank you, Chris, from the Blue Monday Telegram group for that one. Watford versus Danny Rolls, Sheffield Wednesday. And the first of that difficult bunch of 5 games for the Argyle. It's West Brom versus Plymouth. Sam, let me just go into the comments before you make your choice. What have we got here? Bristol City versus Coventry up there. Swans Leicester. Stoke v Sunderland. Borough Blues. A couple of people going for the longest serving gaffers there. Bristol City, Coventry. Good shout that. Norwich Leeds. Swans Leicester. Borough Birmingham. Norwich Leeds. And on that, Sam, I'll ask you what we've gone for.
I'm going for Norwich Leeds, although I'm wanting to shift a little bit to Borough Birmingham. I didn't think about all the narratives when we were doing this yesterday. But
we can touch on that in the predictions. Norwich Leeds should be great.
I'm a sucker for 1995 Premier League years. Do you know what I mean? It stinks of it again, doesn't it?
100%. And I suppose the big story is going to be the return of Daniel Farker, 2-time championship title winner. But he's not coming back with a lesser team. He's coming back with a year 1 parachute team who are kind of purring now, Sam. 17 points in 8 games. Do you make them favourites?
Oh, yeah, I would do. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to see both teams recently. I think it's been a really difficult September for Norwich with the injuries. I don't think the level of the performance has been particularly good. I think of maybe the first half against Stoke, if memory serves me right, because I was there the subsequent Tuesday. They took care of business against Birmingham, no problem at all. But there's been some pretty alarming results and displays in there, along with them, none more so than obviously the 6-2 at Plymouth, the defeat at Rotherham. I thought, although it was Leicester City, they didn't really lay a glove on them. That was a pretty comprehensive away win for Leicester down at Carrow Road. So I do worry about their firepower and their options, I think, as well. And they've got Ida, obviously, and Hwang. Ida we spoke about on the podcast, whether he was going to be able to step up.
Well, you set that up, didn't you? And we never ever want to go in 2-footed on a player, but Sammy hasn't stepped up, bless him.
No, I think it's more collected though, isn't it? He's tried Gibbs in a bit more of a forward position, and I just think it, in essence, is going with a forward player down. So I'll be intrigued to see how they go again. This is what they did against Leicester. I think they did it last time out at Cov as well. So I'll be interested to see the dynamic, the setup rather, of Norwich's midfield and front lines. Sarah has got himself a couple of goals, I think 2 in 3 for him, and he had a bit of a dip in form during September as well. So you'd have to make Leeds clear favourites for this one. I thought, they took care of business against Bristol City. I thought it was interesting seeing Archie Gray in at right back.
Right fullback, yeah?
Yeah, and I spoke about Shackleton in the previous pod about the lack of threat really from Leeds, whether it was a tactical decision that the fullbacks didn't go, one state, or they just didn't go at all because they have so much in those front positions, so much creativity, so much joy basically to behold in the way that they're performing at the moment, whether that was a tactic. But I think Gray actually gives them a bit more quality and the opportunity actually to get someone joining in from right fullback. I think
Sam, they're going to face so many low blocks that might end up being where the space is, mightn't it?
Yeah, and I think he's done
Norwich
it
won't low
before.
block them, by the way, but just generally.
Yeah, and I think he's done it before for the England youth teams, and what it enables Kamara and Ampadu to play, and well, in essence, to get Gray in the team, because I think he's had such a formidable start to the season in his first team career that Daniel Farke would be foolish not to try and shoehorn him in somewhere. So I thought that was really interesting, and it was good to see old Pirro on the score sheet after the 13-minute chat that he had the previous week in the presser. So no, you make Leeds favourites, but don't discount Norwich just yet. All it takes is a result, and I think the fans in the main are still behind David Wagner. Although we know it's a pretty tough job, I think, and it's a pretty challenging place to be for the players. You'll know, from Ipswich as well. They're big clubs in those regions.
The only club in the county as well, yeah.
Yeah, and people probably think I think people do from the outside think, my experience of Ipswich was very different and of Norwich has been very different. People think that it's a quiet, lovely, scenic part of the country where football is not a hotbed. Well, I think within those four stands at both those clubs, they expect the team to perform, to give everything, and if they don't, then they can turn quite quickly. So I hope for David Wagner's sake that there's a result around the corner and they can start building some momentum again.
Amen. So Norwich versus Leeds, surely that's going to be over 3 goals and both teams to score job. It should be really, really good with those two managers, shouldn't it? Although I think, as John said in the chat, that's a nailed on 0-0. Now let's move on to this weekend's player to watch. Sam, you may or may not remember in our job last season, the senior producer vetoing my idea for a bumper on the bottom of the screen saying Philogene is not my lover. He said, we're not going near Michael Jackson, Ben. Move on. I'm not having it. Stop making these stupid suggestions. You can see by Sam's face, he thought it was a great idea, but it was above both of our pay grades. And Sam, our player to watch this week is Jayden Philogene of Hull City.
It is. I think I remember that. I didn't remember Jayden Philogene being the player in question, but I do remember that type of conversation that he had. First thing about Jayden Philogene, when I saw the involvement in the goals at Millwall, was that he looks like a different player. He looks like he's filled out. I mean, I saw him all grown. Is that possible? I mean, he's still a young man. You're not just getting
confused by the different haircut, are you?
I'm not. Honestly, I saw him at Cardiff last season. Very early on, he scored the winning goal actually against Birmingham in a game where actually under Steve Morrison they played really well. He was the standout player, and I thought, hello, Cardiff changing to a more football inside. This could be really interesting. And he was great. He looks stronger. He just looks a little bit like he's grown up a little bit. And I was really surprised that Villa let him go. Really surprised. He played in the...
I think, Sam, that was, from what I know, that's quite a chunky fee.
Yeah, I mean, he played in
million, I think.
He played in the summer series for Villa, and he was in the States. And in the game I covered, he was one of the best players. So it looked like he was knocking on the door. I know they've got really good options, Aston Villa, but yeah, I mean, this is a really good signing. Really good signing. Goal and 3 assists already. I thought what was interesting, he leads shots per game at Hull City. So he's out shooting the more out and out centre forwards, if you like. And he's in a ridiculous vein of form. So much so that he went away with the 21s in the week. Got himself 2 goals. The first one against Serbia, absolute peach. Nicked it quite high, closing down, and smashed it into the top corner. Second one was a tap in laid on by Liam Delap nicely. Those two continuing their kind of budding relationship at international level. And Yeah, he looks like his awareness is improving as well. And I think that only comes with experience playing, more games, and the assist at the weekend. I can't recall who it was for, actually. It might have been Delap. I can't remember, but it was a brilliant pick out, actually, in a pretty packed 18-yard box when Mill was scrambling back to get into position, and he showed really good awareness to find the right pass. So things are looking really encouraging, I think, for Hull and for Philogene in particular, who does give you, I think, great flexibility as well. I think, he can be deployed wing back. He can play on either side.
That's a good point. He started wing back last. I don't know how you feel about that when you get these really good dribblers who are starting from a bit further back. On the one hand, they've got a bit more space, but on the other hand, they're further away from the goal.
I think the Hull City setup, more than most in the Championship, is very fluid, because I had a look at quite a lot from that Millwall game last week, and it looked like he was not doing a great deal of defending.
Okay.
Not, having a go at the player, but I think it's maybe a slightly lopsided shape. And I looked at Traore as well. I think was one of the other forward players who looked to be down as, I think, wide right, or, he played a lot centrally and looked to have a lot of license. So I think Liam Rossini has got a really fluid system, and he's probably, looked at the profile of Philogene. I think the left-sided centre-half actually covered quite a lot of the left-hand side of the pitch. So maybe it's one of those that changes, determined where the ball is, on the pitch. But yeah, definitely Philogene looks to be a brilliant signing.
So, Sam, in terms of trading, are they in the sweet spot now where if we think they've dropped, say, 4 or 5 million, if someone comes in, they're going to make more than that already, aren't they?
Well, yeah, if he's in the 21 squad and playing regularly in the Championship and contributing in this manner, because if, I think he got 4 goals and an assist last season, so he's going to absolutely rip past that very, very quickly. In terms of numbers, international recognition. Like I said, he looked like a proper player in the summer. So much so that I was a bit open-mouthed when I saw that deal had gone through. And it was amongst a cusp of good bits of business that Hull City did towards the end of the window. So, yeah, I'm optimistic now. I wasn't in the summer, but this could be a season where they go close.
There you go. Right, everybody, are you ready? It is predictions time. Right, guys, we're going to go through the Championship card. We will rotate game by game. For obvious reasons, Sam will be going first this week. I think you realise why when you know what the Friday night game is. Guys, please, I want to put as many of your predictions up on the screen as we can. Keep them sensible and really help me out, because we're going to move fast. Don't just put the scorelines teams up for me as well. And I can put as many as possible on the screen as we go, so you can have your say. But we all want to hear from Sam Parkin on Rotherham versus Ipswich. Do you want to give me a with storm or without storm prediction, depending on how the weather's going to be?
Are we going to go straight down the route that, we would have done 2 years ago, that rain and wind would have
kill Ipswich,
suited Rotherham
yeah,
impeccably? We can't go down that route anymore now that I've been...
You're the boss.
I've been championing Matt Taylor, trying to change the ethos at the New York City Stadium, or whatever it's called. I've butchered that, haven't I? Yeah, I've been a champion, haven't I, of Rotherham this season, despite this pretty bad run they've been on. I think they'll score... How many wins are Ipswich on the bounce now, Ben?
700. No, they drew against Huddersfield a couple of games ago. I think it's...
right. Three or four, maybe?
No, it's 2. Someone will tell me.
Oh, is it? Sorry, right. Unbeaten must be.
Leeds unbeaten is nice, yeah.
Leeds
beaten.
Anyway, I think they'll score. I will go for a 2-1 Ipswich win. Preston against Millwall, Ben.
Sam, I can't get past Rowett not being there, so I'm going to back against Millwall. I don't know why. I just think that that's going to stitch them up. I know Preston went 3 straight defeats in the 3-game week last time, but as we built up for weeks beforehand, they were playing away at Leicester and then away at Ipswich. So I think Preston will win. I think it might get quite loose. So let's go Preston 3, Millwall 1. How about that, Sam? Blackburn versus Cardiff. Can we call that the Peter Whittingham derby, I suppose? The late, great Peter Whittingham.
Yeah, and without doubt, the hardest game of the weekend, I would say.
Get your excuses in early, Parkin.
We're still getting a steer on both of these two, aren't we? I'm seeing goals. I'm seeing plenty of them. I'm seeing both teams to score. I'm going to go Blackburn 3, Cardiff 2. How's that?
Lovely.
Bristol City, Coventry City.
Well, Coventry always draw, don't they? I think we had 5 draws in 6, and I don't really want to back against either of these sides. So if I go for a high-scoring draw, does that appease everybody the other end? Sam, I doubled down in the international break on Coventry still to get in the playoffs, so I need to start calling them winning soon. But let's go for a Desmond, Sam. Bristol City 2, Coventry City 2. What did you say last time about this one? Who's been spreading this filth? It's Huddersfield versus QPR, Sam, and you love it.
Yeah, I mean, there is no way in a million years I would ever part with a few coins or anyone in my family to suggest that QPR are going to be relegated. But if you ask me now, I think I would probably have both of these two in my 3.
Oh,
but I will go for. It could go either way. I'll go for Huddersfield 1, QPR 0. Hull City against Southampton.
Is it possible for both teams to have over 50% possession in this game, Sam?
No, I don't think so.
No, it's not. It feels like they're both going to destroy each other, trying to take control of the game. It's almost a case of the one who can pivot off their normal strategy will probably win this one. I struggle to back against Southampton with their quality, even though it was 4 straight defeats. But I think I might back Hull, Sam. Let me try and read your face as I say that. A slight nod there. Both teams to score 2-1 Hull. And this one that you're interested in talking about is Carrick versus Rooney, Middlesbrough versus Birmingham. Away you go.
Yeah, I mean, Middlesbrough have been really impressive, haven't they? I think we anticipated this probably happening. The statistics suggested that things were going to turn. I thought the new players that had come in had shown a little bit of promise and have subsequently maybe come out to have a little look from the sidelines. And some of the guys that did the business for Michael Carrick last year have really come to the fore in the last few games. But I like the business and I've been encouraged by the last few results. And I think they will be too strong for Birmingham, who have only had, a week, maybe 10 days with the new manager. I think it will probably be, one of those days where, it's a little bit of a slap in the grid for the new management team at Birmingham and the realization that this is going to be a difficult task, especially if they're going to be directed to immediately change the football into something that they probably haven't seen at St Andrews for many a year. I'll go Middlesbrough 3, Birmingham 1. Pretty convincing. Which brings us on to the mouthwatering matchup. Norwich Leeds. You going to do that?
Yeah, so I would love this one to play out exactly how I suspect it will, which means both teams to score and lots of goals. But I've got to go with Leeds, I think. Am I allowed a 3-2, Sam? I'm sure you get at least, what do we get, 25-1 on that? 16-1? Let's go Norwich 2, Leeds 3. Maybe Norwich are going to take the lead as well for a little bit of extra sauce on that one. Beleaguered. Can we call Alex Neil beleaguered, Sam? Alex Neil against Tony Mowbray. Stoke versus Sunderland.
I always do one, mate, don't I? And I think this is...
Oh, here it comes. This is my favourite part of the show.
I think this is... It's nearly must win, isn't it? I would say this is a big one for Stoke and Alex Neil. And because it's up against his former employers, I think there's something there. There's a game plan coming. I'm going to go for Stoke 2, Sunderland 1. There you go. Swansea against Leicester.
Okay, so the last 18 weeks on this show, we've predicted a Leicester win, so I will keep that tradition up. Even though Swansea have been in good form, Sam, 100-point teams, they just win whether they're playing anyone in good form or not. They just go and get the job done. And that's what I'd imagine Leicester are going to do and become that first team to win 6 straight away games from the start of the season in the Championship. What's the score going to be? Is Swansea going to score? No, they're not. Swansea 0, Leicester 2. And you've got Danny Roll's debut there. Watford versus Wednesday, Sam.
Just repeat what I said for Middlesbrough against Birmingham. I think, like a reality check. There'll be some encouragement from maybe the manner of the performance, but it's going to be too soon after his appointment. And I know Watford have been, a little bit in decline in recent weeks after a relatively promising start to the season. I think they'll be too strong here. 2-0. I'm with Callum. Finishes off with Baggies against our goal, mate.
The problem is you've got in my head with your West Brom clean sheet theory. Plymouth don't skew well away. I know I always say that. I think we're focusing on that midweek Sheffield Wednesday game for Argyle. So John Swift's in rare old form as well, isn't he? I think he's already got 6 goals from that advanced midfield position. West Brom 1, Plymouth 0 in highly predictable fashion. Guys, thank you so much for all of your predictions in the chat. All a little bit of fun. Oh, Baggies without Swift, apparently. There you go. Should have been paying more attention to the pre-game stuff. Swift injured. I've got it, guys. I didn't know. There we go. Right, let's move on. Sam, it's quiz time. Here comes the week that was. If Fev is in the chat, he can tell us what the score is. It's 5-3 to Sam. No, we've had more shows than that. What show number is this? Episode.
There's only 1 point between us, isn't there now?
You must be winning 6-5 then. No, episode 11 at 10. I think you're 2 up. 6-4. Although we were going to do half scores, weren't we? So it is quiz time, as usual, curated by Fev's Football Analytics. Follow him at Fev's Football on Twitter. He is a Bristol City fan, but do not hold that against him. Do you want to answer first, Sam, or do you want to ask first?
I'll ask first.
Yes, I'm putting my phone down and I'm closing the comments. Yeah, we've been corrected here, Sam. It's 5.5 versus 4.5. So you're right, there was only one. Right, let me close the comments down so everyone knows I'm not cheating.
All right, there's 5 points to play with here, you know what I mean? So it'll be yeah. Right. Okay.
Play along in the comments and we'll look after I've fudged it.
So which 5 goalkeepers have played the most minutes, including injury time, this season? So we're looking for 5 goalkeepers that have played the most minutes, including injury time this season.
So can I go close to home? Because Slagkey's played every game and Ipswich had like 100 minutes injury time, didn't they, in the first match?
You're on the board. You're on the board.
Who else has had one that's played every minute? Hermansen for Leicester hasn't, has he? So he won't be on it. Who's third? Woodman, Preston?
I like the pronunciation, but no. Woodman is not there.
Woodman. I'm trying to see the problem with doing this. You've got to envisage the bloody table as well.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you 7 guesses, all right? So you've had 2, yeah? So you're allowed 2 wrong ones.
Has Meslier played every minute for Leeds? I think he has. Meslier?
No. No Meslier. So you got 4 to get and you've got no margin for error.
Gunn for Norwich?
No. I'll give you no more. No more.
You've already helped me out enough. What about Wilson for Coventry? How can I name that many Championship keepers and not get any right? Go on, give me the right answer.
Okay, so the most is Hladky. So you got that off the bat. Then the second most minutes is Bazunu at Southampton, 1,125. You don't need to know that. Rushworth at Swansea, 3rd.
Oh, mate.
Begovic at QPR, 4th most.
Is that a red card?
And Johansson at Rotherham
is very
the
good.
5th most minutes. So 1 to beat.
That's pathetic. I'm getting booed rubbish in the chat.
That's a hard question, mate.
Probably well deserved.
Very hard question.
Well, Sam, talk to me in football terms. What is this? Are you playing the second half against 9 men or something at home in the sunshine here?
Nah,
It's a
never,
nailed on
never,
win.
ever get complacent here.
Which 5 outfield players have played the most minutes, including injury time? This is much harder because you've got a bigger pool to choose from. So if you want clues, I'll happily give you clues.
Well, how many are you going to give me? How many? Are you going to give me 10? Can I have 10?
Yeah,
10
you can
names?
have 10. Yeah. Let me just tell you.
Yeah.
3 are centre backs.
All right. Going off your chain of thought, then. Wolfenden.
That's a great shout. First name written down on my list. This is going to be a bloody squash, isn't it?
Straight
Look
in,
at this.
yeah.
Hashtag bloom out. I'm being sacked from my own YouTube channel here.
Wasn't there a lot of speculation about Burgess getting dropped? I'll go Burgess as well.
That is a no. Remember, he's been rested for Edmondson.
Has he?
Yeah, so he hasn't played every game.
I shall just stay on. I can't just stay on Ipswich.
You cannot.
No, I will
But
go.
Sam, here's a clue. Who did Ipswich play in that first game where there was 150 minutes injury time?
They were away at Sunderland, were they not? Ballard?
Oh, it's a winner. It's a
There
winner
you go.
from Parkin. You've already won. So I can give you some clues now.
Let me have a couple more. Oh, I've got a dead cert here.
Okay.
Dead cert. Lock it in the words of Talk Sports late night show, whatever it's called, Sports Bar. Lock it in. Harry Winks, my friend.
No. Bear in
Really?
mind, there's only 11 minutes from top to bottom in this quiz. This guy, Sam, had the best debut you have ever seen.
Matt Grimes.
Matt Grimes. This guy, Sam, on day 1 of the season at Hillsborough, was the best player on the pitch.
Oh, I would say, but he missed a couple of games. Has he missed a game? Don't give it away. Best player on the pitch that day. I thought that would have been Will Smallbone.
The right back.
Oh, Kyle Walker-Peters.
Kyle Walker-Peters and a goal scorer at the Stadium of Light, but not for Sunderland this season. Your last centre back. Hit him in the face. Didn't know much about it.
The lad who I always call Ballard, who plays for Cardiff.
Mark McGuinness. Yes,
Mark McGuinness. There you go. Weren't they both Arsenal once upon a time? There's some method to my madness.
Yeah, they were actually. That's
there
a good
you go.
shout.
There
They probably played.
Hey,
ask Adrian Clark about that one. Yeah.
With the clues, I was on fire. Not really the real quiz, is it? But you know what I mean.
No, you've won the real quiz though. Right. Let me just bring that up. So what's the bloody score then? So you're like winning you're 6.5 to 4.5. Because I'm a magnanimous loser, I'll give you a small.
Delighted with that Wolfenden shout. That's incredible, isn't it?
That is a great shout. And if I show you the DM here, right at the top there, Luke Wolfenden, you can see it in there. I think Josh is correct here. Toughest so far, I'd say. I was unlucky, wasn't I? What would you have done with the goalkeeper question?
Your Hladky basically gave me Wolfenden, didn't it? You squared one along the 6-yard box for me there. Yeah. So much so that I tried to get Burgess shoehorned in as well.
Right, let's do some Q&A. Ask me or Sam probably for some more interesting answers. Anything you like about the Championship. Here we go. Right, Q&A time. Get the questions in. Stick a question mark afterwards so I know you're not just in the chat, which is absolutely fine. By the way, can you hit the like button if you are in the chat? We've got 56 likes, Sam. Surely that can go up to, say, 75 or something by the end of the show. We really do appreciate all of the support for the podcast since we have started it. And I'm just getting buried in the chat, so I'm just going to ignore the comments for a minute and kind of look over here. Continue plugging stuff. You follow us both on Twitter at Sammy Parkin _ at Benjamin Bloom.
That's it, mate. Yeah.
Good stuff. Get your questions in. Sam, are you commentating this weekend?
I am at Chelsea Arsenal on.
You can see
Saturday.
Sam on Chelsea TV. By the way, it's a 3-game week, so heavy on the review stuff on this coming Thursday night. Right, first question. How was Sam's hangover after a weekend in Glasgow?
I play with a handbrake on now. Do you know what I mean? I just can't do it anymore. I had an early start both days and an early finish, and that's the way I perform these days. But the Saturday was the Friday was really nice. Caught up with some mates, obviously at St Mirren. I sat next to Paul Dummett actually, who's obviously still
Newcastle
playing for Newcastle. He was on loan with us at St Mirren, and then just caught up with some friends in the West End of Glasgow on Saturday and Saturday night. So pretty reserved, but it was great. It's a brilliant city. If you haven't been, get up and see a game, and if you can't get to the Old Firm, get along and watch St Mirren. It's
in a West End town in a dead end world, the East End boys and the West End girls. Right, this next comment has the word turd in it, but is a super chat. So I've got to click on it. Although I don't know, what do you reckon 78 Hong Kong dollars is? About £3.50 or something. Cheers for the content, fellas. Ipswich and Leicester are like turds that won't flush, aren't they? Well, that is going to be the topic, in the words of Daniel Farker, for the next 5 games. We will see. I'm sure it's going to be an interesting race. Aidan, what do you think will be Warnock's next job this season, Sam?
Oh, I don't want to say it, but like
QPR. He's going to say QPR, isn't
he? Would I take him? Yeah, I would. I'll swerve it somewhat by saying there or Rotherham. How's that?
That's lovely.
We want Matt on the show as well. So sorry, Matt, if you're by chance ever watching. Matt Taylor.
MAR, are the two locked in? They're not locked in. I've got Leicester locked in, but I've got my eyes on 5th place, and Leeds look like they could score 90 plus points, don't they, Sam?
They do, but you know, my most recent opportunity to see Leeds was at Southampton, and they just didn't turn up. I mean, it was never a 3-1 or whatever it ended, but I expect Leeds to click into gear now. I think there's still been a few holes in the 11. Do you know what I mean? I don't think he's had it exactly how he wanted it as of yet. He's getting closer. Daniel Farker, the front player, certainly, you know, they're in unison, and they've got the chemistry, but I don't think that's been kind of collective yet. So I think there's still improvements to come there. You never know. I mean, Ipswich look so good at the moment. It's hard to see any deficiencies there, apart from maybe just, you know, giving up, you know, 1 or 2 many goals. But if they can iron that out, then Ipswich have got a brilliant chance.
Apparently, I've undersold 78 Hong Kong dollars. So huge apologies to Trebor there. He says it's twice as much as £3.50. And to that, we say thank you very much for the support. And you can support via Super Chat during any of these shows. I promise I'll give Sam Parkin half. Which team currently around the bottom 3 has the player most likely to single-handedly keep them up? He's answered his own question there, Dylan, hasn't he? Surely Chair, maybe Bannon for Sheffield Wednesday. More to the point, Rotherham don't have that cheat code player who can drag their team, maybe, do they?
No, possibly not. Possibly not. They did in years gone past, didn't they? Years gone by. Sorry. I'm not seeing anyone really at Huddersfield. Obviously at Plymouth, they've got plenty of match winners.
Plymouth Blackburn, do, don't they?
Blackburn 2, maybe.
Yeah.
So Schmodix for 1. Borough, I think they're blessed with quite a few players that can step up. So Chair would be the one. Willock, obviously, I've harbour on about Willock so often. I don't know if his race is run at QPR. It does kind of feel like it is, but you know, those two, Willock, for my money, was the best player in the Championship for 6 weeks at the start of last season. So, yeah, well, those two are at the club. There's still hope, isn't there? Sheffield Wednesday, Bannon, yeah, he's an obvious one. We'll see.
Which team will get the most points before the next break? Vindaloo, it's a great question. I haven't looked at how Leicester excluded. We'll have a look at the fixtures and get back to you on that one. Would it be a failure at this point if McKenna didn't get Town in the playoffs? I think if the gap and the number is similar at the next one, it almost starts to become that it would be, because you'd have to be a bottom quartile team to not make it at that point if you piled on that many points. Sam, even though the expectations may have been different.
Yeah. Oh, the expectation was definitely different. We spoke about it probably on the first podcast of the season. I'm sure we spoke about it in the summer, and I'm sure both of us were. I was anticipating consolidation.
I said 12th.
comfortable consolidation, and you were happy with being in the middle of the table. So for now, it would be a failure. Yeah, it would be, and I think that's.
I think, Sam, they have to drop to something like 1.2. So 13th place form to miss them now.
Yeah, and that's a compliment to just how well they're playing at the moment. That's not, being negative at all towards the achievements of the manager to this point. I mean, it would be an incredible story if they were to go back to back.
Rich, noting Ben's weather worries, did Sam enjoy playing on a soggy, muddy surface? You're a total footballer, Sam. You need pristine, don't you?
No, I'm a bit conflicted, a bit of a contradiction, because I did. Honestly, I liked a wet night on a good pitch where the ball could zip around, where the ball could zip around, and if the ball was
because the defenders are struggling then
a little bit. It favoured the centre forwards, I think. If the ball was kind of whipped across the 18-yard box and you could come flying in off your feet and try and get something on the ball. So I enjoyed that, but I had a bit of a fascination or a bit of a love for the early rounds of cup competitions and going and playing at non-league grounds. I just felt it gave me such a freedom. And quite often in team talks, I remember managers saying to me, just go and do what you did when you were a kid, or just enjoy it. That was a kind of way of managers getting into your mindset to try and be free and alleviate the pressure. And I think in those early rounds of the cups, I think I really felt that. It was almost like being back at school. Rubbish pitch, probably a couple of hundred people there. The strong smell of burgers at every corner. But I used to enjoy it, and it was always a bit of, this is why I am where I am. Do you know what I mean? That confidence used to come out, and I used to show people, this is why we're the league team, and this is why I'm a league player or whatever. So, I didn't mind that. I didn't mind that. I wasn't one to. There were a lot of lads that would come in after a game and say that the facilities were terrible, the pitch was terrible. I wasn't one of those. I embraced those games, really.
Would you have Beale back? Mick Beale is available now. Well, I'll broaden that. It's got to be Championship next job, hasn't it? Not going to be any higher or lower.
Cool. I'd love to be back in last autumn watching the football, but you can't have him back. You can't have him back. There's a what's the word I'm looking for?
Code of honour.
After what he said after he turned down the Wolves job to go to Rangers, and I know that previously he'd been at Rangers and had such a brilliant time with Gerrard, and it's hard to ignore that when the pull of one of the old firm. I know that, having played up there, it's a different world. When you're associated to one of those clubs. I get it, but can't have him back.
No. And where does Gary Rowett end up next? That is a guaranteed champ. So many owners are going to look at him in terms of stabilising the Championship club now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I've done some work with Gary. I got loads of time for him. We didn't really touch on that earlier. He's really open and candid. I really liked him, enjoyed his company. I think he is brilliant with all the press guys. Certainly the people that I work with that have to go down and do post-match with him, irrelevant of what the result is, gives everyone absolutely everything they need. So I think he's a brilliant guy. And do you know what? I'm quite pleased that it's ended now, rather than the potential of it turning really acrimonious. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased that he's been able to walk with his reputation fully intact.
Yeah, 100%. Right, I think that'll do us. Massive thank you, as always, from myself and Sam for all of you lot coming and joining live each Thursday at 7 p.m. Do hit the like button. We got over 75, Sam. We got to 76 there if you're watching, and give us a 5-star review if you're listening on Spotify or iTunes or anything like that. It's going to go fast, Sam. We've got a 3-game week starting on Friday. We will be back next Thursday. So we'll talk a little bit more about the midweek round, I guess, because that'll be fresh on our mind.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to the Hawthorns on Tuesday. That just sprung into my mind. West Brom QPR. So I'll give you a bird's eye. That's not the right terminology. I'll give you
a baggy's eye.
I'll I will give you a full match report, whatever you want, guys, from the Hawthorns.
So are you
next
commentating
Tuesday.
on that?
Yeah, commentating Tuesday night. Yeah.
Amazing stuff. I am once again up against Sam because we'll be doing a watch along Leicester versus Sunderland here on the channel on Tuesday. So feel free to tune into myself or Sam or both of us on 2 different devices, or just tell us that so neither of us feel terrible about which one you ended up choosing. We will see you on Thursday. Last word from you, Sam.
Well, enjoy the return of proper football. Hey, it's here, and yeah, be safe, and you as well, Ben.
Rain. Oh yeah. Oh, by the way, check out the vlog Rotherham. If I'm not. Thank you, everybody. It's been a Championship check-in podcast. We'll see you soon.